The Terrorcons. Wait, not the dragons? The live action ones? Oh, good, because I never did find a hunger. Okay, let's go again. The Terracons. One of those teams in Transformers that is really just placed on whatever as long as Hasbro can re-up the trademark. This time it is used for the minions of Unicron in the live-action Transformers universe. His heralds. Just to go full Galactus with him this time around. Giving us some Decepticons with a different logo on them. And also, these two skeleton guys. Core Class Freezer and Novocaine. These two guys that live in Scourge's back, like a set of Soundwave tapes. They only had robot modes in the movie, so what they turned into is a pure Hasbro idea, and they picked these four-legged turret cannons, like mini Galvatrons, and for extra, they can also convert into this handheld mode that I think is really cool looking, but it is a bit big for any of the figures to hold. Now, these two are pretty similar looking robots, but if I had to pick one over the other, I'd go with Novocaine. I just like his brighter colors, and the bronze feels more precise, whereas Freezer seems to just be treated like a very heavy paint wash. I like the yellow details used for his gun parts, and I prefer his head sculpt, the orange eyes, and the scarring. Plus, he had more screen time than his brother, so he really feels like the one to get if you aren't a completionist. Ooh boy. Here we have the deluxe class Nightbird in her lovely vehicle mode of a Nissan GTR R33. This is one of the best done car modes in so long. It's stylized, it's sleek, it rolls perfectly and doesn't get dragged by any of the robot parts. Is this really that hard to do? Why is this not common anymore? She does seem to be a bit small. Like if this was 2009, she'd be an $8 Scout toy. But that's the world we live in now, and it doesn't stop this car mode from being perfect. Also, the sword is hidden under the chassis instead of hanging off the side of the car, which is, again, something we don't really see anymore. In her robot mode, she is both a cool-looking scary ninja, and also she's kind of cute and adorable. Again, she seems very small. You can't really tell how big she was in the movie, but I didn't think she was this short. The head does have the feel of Nightbird, but it also makes me think of this Play Arts Kai figure of Catwoman that I'm sure nobody remembers. The rest of her must have been based on early concept art, because she really doesn't look like she did in the movie. Her lower body was definitely filled in, and a bit more curvy in the final movie, and she had more real feet, with the wheels being on the heel instead of here where they are her heel, and her jetpack wings are much less pronounced, but I still think she looks really great. Her sword can be kept on her hip, and she only has one, which is odd because it does seem like she was designed for two. She has the ability to store two on her. I guess it was cost reduced to make her waif mates better, maybe? Even still, I really love her. Sure, I may be a bit biased because I've been a super fan of Nightbird ever since she made her return in the Legends mangas and got to start being an actual character. So far, she has been fun in every incarnation, and I'm really happy to have her in the movie collection. Now, upscaling to the Voyager class, we have Battletrap, folded up into his tow truck mode, and looking pretty decent in the orange and gray. His tow hook is used to store his wrecking ball, and that's a fun idea. He does have his hands sticking out of the back window area, and I can accept that. But his roof does have a hard time connecting to the body. That roof is something that I legitimately want to call bad, because whenever I transform it, it has clearance issues, especially going back into the vehicle mode. I really fear that it could break off at some point. His robot mode is looking like a lot of Transformers. He's got the grill on his chest, the back wheels on his calves, and some extra vehicle kibble on the arms. Speaking of which, I don't really understand what we're supposed to do with these hooks. They can fold in on themselves and rotate around, but they don't really tab in anywhere. His promo shot shows him still having them folded out like it's supposed to be the Gatling gun he had in the film. I do like to keep the wrecking ball on the hook for the robot, to kinda simulate the chain it had on screen. His light bar can also go over his shoulders and give him cannons for long range, and since we're up here, I gotta say, His head is looking cool, with the intimidating horns and the Gundam-like forehead crest. Also those little red lines under his eyes, making him look like he's blushing. It's so cute. Battletrap's a cute boy. Overall, he's an okay toy, but not the best thing ever. I definitely prefer the power of the Prime's Battletrap over him. To wrap things up, we have the big bad main villain himself, Scourge, inspired by the repaint of Laser Power Optimus Prime from the series Car Robots, or Robots in Disguise 2001, as most people know it as. The man's jump to Hollywood has taken him from a normal big rig in some sharp colors and turned it into this monster that looks like it came right from the world of Mad Max or the Twisted Metal games. Really going for a similar Dark Mirror look like what Megatron had in Dark of the Moon. I almost want to say Megatron did it better because his truck was more close to Prime's truck, but Scourge got to actually have a scene with Prime that had them both in truck form, so let's just say that they're even. He has some nice features, like this crazy grill guard, and these ridges on his windshield, and these 6 smokestacks wrapped in chains, which the left ones on my copy like to droop down for some reason. He also has his cannon folded apart and posted on his bed, which can be used to mount either Freezer or Novocaine's gun modes to his back, and that's some pretty fun compatibility. In robot mode, he has a very menacing figure. I believe that on one of the Hasbro reveal live streams, they talked about him looking similar to the Fallen, and they must have been talking about the original Dreamwave version, because when you put him next to the Movieverse Fallen, they couldn't be any more different. He's got this 4-pronged claw that can be used for grappling around Autobots, and it can be removed in place of his Mega Buster, because apparently every robot in this movie is secretly trying out to play Mega Man in their future. I really like this cannon. It just feels like something that's super powerful. Too bad he only used it once in the movie. For melee, he has this double-sided sword, and if you remove it from his hand, it can be folded to be used in the underslung style that he had when he killed Ape Link. I'm sure some people wished it was removable, but what are you gonna do with it anyway? I think keeping it there is fine. I really like the way Scourge was reimagined for the film, and like normal, he's so much cooler than Nemesis Prime ever could be, and I'm really glad we didn't get him in the movie. Proving that the random line of the mind-controlled Optimus Prime in TF5 shouting, "I am Nemesis Prime," really paid off if we got to have this villain instead. Overall, the Terrorcons are some of the cooler villains in the Transformers films. Not the best, because that is of course Lockdown, but these guys are a good second place. And Battletrap is a bit average, but the rest of his team is super fun, and I'd like to say they are worth adding to a Transformers collection.